Al Capone, one of the most notorious figures in American history, lived a life that combined ruthless power with hidden luxury. While the public only knew him as a dangerous gangster and crime lord, very few had any idea about the level of opulence he enjoyed behind closed doors. His daily life was a careful balance between maintaining fear and control in the streets and indulging in secret extravagances that most people could only dream of. To the outside world, Capone appeared to be a man always on the move, business meetings, social appearances, and the occasional public charity event. But behind that public image, he had created a private world of unimaginable wealth. His mansions were lavish, decorated with expensive furniture, rare artwork, and luxurious artifacts from around the world. Expensive suits, jewelry, fine cigars, and gourmet foods were not occasional indulgences, they were part of his everyday life. He understood the importance of secrecy. Most of his wealth was hidden in offshore accounts, discreet properties, and underground operations. He invested strategically in ventures that appeared legal but often masked deeper illicit networks. From speakeasies to illegal gambling dens, every operation contributed quietly to his empire, ensuring that the public never knew the full scale of his fortune. Even within his inner circle, only trusted associates knew the full extent of his riches. Capone carefully controlled who got access to what, ensuring that rumors never revealed the true scope of his empire. Visitors to his homes were dazzled by the luxury, but none could imagine the wealth behind the walls of his entire operation. He traveled in style, drove expensive cars, and entertained in private clubs where champagne flowed freely, and the finest meals were served. Yet, despite all the grandeur, he remained elusive, avoiding unnecessary attention while enjoying his secret indulgences. The combination of fear, respect, and mystery ensured that no one could easily challenge his position or uncover his private world. Capone's lifestyle was a lesson in controlled opulence. He showed the world only what he wanted it to see while living a life of hidden excess. Every decision, every action, every financial move was carefully planned to protect his wealth and his power. And behind it all, the secret richness of Al Capone's life created an aura that was both feared and admired, a double life that few could ever imagine. Little did the public know, this was only the beginning of the secrets that shaped Capone's empire. Al Capone's wealth was not just a number in a bank account, it was a universe of hidden enterprises, luxurious indulgences, and power that stretched far beyond the streets of Chicago. While the headlines painted him as a ruthless gangster, few could imagine the carefully orchestrated empire he built behind the scenes. Every move he made, every financial transaction, and even every casual purchase was calculated with precision. Nothing was accidental, everything was part of a system that maintained and expanded his dominance. Capone's empire began with small ventures, bootlegging, speakeasies, and gambling, but it quickly expanded into a web of businesses that included legitimate fronts. Laundering money through restaurants, nightclubs, and hotels, he created a network so complex that even law enforcement struggled to trace the flow of funds. Behind his modest public appearances, Capone's accountants, trusted advisors, and family members managed millions of dollars with an almost military precision. No expense was too high if it ensured the growth, secrecy, and protection of his empire. Every property he owned was carefully chosen. Mansions in hidden neighborhoods, private islands for discreet meetings, and secret rooms equipped with state-of-the-art security. Capone's wealth was everywhere, yet invisible. While most people only saw the surface, he maintained multiple layers of deception, a public life of businessman and socialite, and a hidden life of clandestine dealings, underground casinos, and silent profiteering. The contrast between what the public saw and what existed behind the walls was staggering. Travel for Capone was another statement of hidden luxury. Expensive cars, private planes, and even yachts allowed him to move unseen, while still enjoying the pleasures of wealth in privacy. No hotel stay, no public club, and no vacation spot could reveal his full fortune. Each day of his life involved calculating risks, balancing appearances, and maintaining control over both legal and illegal aspects of his wealth. Every decision was strategic: who to trust, where to invest, and when to act. Capone's social life was equally layered. He entertained guests with lavish dinners, the finest wines, and gourmet foods, yet the guest list was carefully curated. Politicians, influential businessmen, and even law enforcement officials sometimes found themselves enjoying his hospitality, never realizing the depth of his secret empire. His generosity was intentional. It created loyalty, kept enemies close, and allowed him to manipulate situations without revealing his true intentions. Luxury was only part of the story. Capone understood the importance of power and fear. His secret wealth allowed him to finance armies of loyal enforcers, bribe officials, and maintain a level of control that most rulers would envy. His operations were multi-layered, some completely legal, others hidden beneath the surface, and a few so secret that only a handful of people ever knew. This structure ensured that even if one part of the empire was threatened, the rest remained untouchable. Even his personal life reflected this duality. Friends, family, and colleagues saw a man who enjoyed cigars, fine clothing, and elegant leisure. But beneath that veneer, every action was monitored, every conversation calculated. Capone's private meetings could determine the fate of entire neighborhoods, and his discreet investments could topple businesses or create new opportunities overnight. The life of Al Capone was a constant dance between exposure and secrecy, a careful choreography that kept him one step ahead of rivals and authorities alike. And yet, despite the extreme wealth and luxury, Capone lived in constant vigilance. Every night, he reviewed ledgers, checked on hidden accounts, and planned future operations. His lifestyle demanded this. In a world where enemies lurked in every corner and betrayal was common, his fortune was both a shield and a target. He learned that true wealth was not just what you owned, it was what no one could ever take away because it remained hidden. Capone's secret lifestyle was a lesson in control, discretion, and strategic indulgence. Each investment, each luxurious item, each calculated risk was part of a larger system that allowed him to live as one of the most feared and wealthy men in history, yet almost invisible to the eyes of those who believed they understood him. The public only saw headlines of crime, violence, and controversy. The reality was a meticulously maintained empire of wealth, influence, and secrecy that few could even imagine. Little did the world know, the secrets of Al Capone's wealth were far deeper, more complex, and more luxurious than anyone could ever guess. By the late 1920s, Al Capone's empire had grown into a sprawling network of underground operations that made him both feared and respected across Chicago and beyond. While newspapers painted him as a ruthless gangster, the reality was far more intricate. He controlled the city's most lucrative illegal industries while carefully managing appearances to avoid scrutiny. Gambling halls, speakeasies, illicit alcohol distribution, and bribed officials all formed the backbone of his empire, creating a stream of wealth so vast that even law enforcement struggled to quantify it. Capone's gambling operations were legendary. Hidden behind ordinary facades, restaurants, bars, and clubs, were opulent gaming rooms where high-stakes games ran day and night. Only the most trusted clientele were allowed inside, and every detail was meticulously controlled. From the layout of the tables to the distribution of chips and even the flow of information, nothing was left to chance. While outsiders thought they were witnessing simple entertainment, Capone was quietly taking millions, channeling them into investments, hidden accounts, and luxury purchases that kept his private world expanding. Alcohol was another pillar of his secret wealth. During Prohibition, Capone's bootlegging operations were unmatched. He controlled entire supply chains, from illegal distilleries to hidden warehouses and underground delivery networks. Every shipment was calculated to maximize profit while minimizing risk of detection. The money from these operations was then funneled into legal fronts, hotels, restaurants, and nightclubs that appeared completely legitimate. To the public, Capone was just a wealthy businessman. In reality, he was the undisputed king of a multi-million-dollar secret economy. Bribery and influence were key tools in maintaining this hidden lifestyle. Police officers, judges, and politicians were carefully cultivated to turn a blind eye to illegal activities. Capone understood that wealth without protection was vulnerable. By strategically investing in relationships, he ensured that his operations ran smoothly, and any threats were neutralized quietly. This delicate balance of fear, loyalty, and money created an invisible network that extended far beyond Chicago, touching businesses, families, and communities in ways no outsider could see. His personal indulgences mirrored the scope of his empire. Hidden mansions stocked with rare artifacts, private clubs filled with the finest wines and cigars, and secret rooms for confidential meetings allowed him to live a life of unmatched luxury. Even vacations were carefully orchestrated. Private yachts, hidden retreats, and exclusive resorts ensured he could enjoy wealth in absolute discretion. No one outside his circle could imagine the scale of opulence he maintained quietly. But Capone's life was not only about money, it was about control. Every business, every employee, every interaction was a thread in a web he meticulously wove. Mistakes were not tolerated, and trust was a rare commodity. Those who served him well were rewarded lavishly, yet even the slightest hint of betrayal could be met with swift consequences. Capone's lifestyle was a constant balancing act between extravagance and danger, indulgence and discipline. Even amid all this, he carefully managed his public persona. To the newspapers, he was the flamboyant gangster who threw parties and drank champagne. To his family, he was protective and charismatic. To his enemies, he was a calculating mastermind. Yet the reality, the true extent of his wealth, power, and hidden operations, remained invisible to everyone who was not part of his inner circle. Al Capone's hidden lifestyle was an intricate dance of secrecy and excess. Gambling profits, bootlegging, earnings, bribes, and discreet investments combined to create a fortune that was unimaginable, yet untouchable. While the city buzzed with rumors and headlines about violence, prohibition, and crime, he thrived quietly, building a legacy of hidden wealth and calculated influence. And still, this was just the surface. What he kept completely secret would shock the world if it were ever revealed. By the early 1930s, Al Capone had become a legend, both feared and admired, yet his private world remained shrouded in secrecy. Behind the headlines of crime, violence, and public notoriety, his life was filled with luxuries and indulgences that few could even imagine. Private collections of rare art, jewels, and expensive artifacts filled hidden rooms of his mansions. Exotic furnishings, imported wines, and gourmet delicacies were part of his everyday life, enjoyed away from the eyes of the public. Capone's family life was equally secretive. While the public knew little about his personal relationships, those close to him experienced both generosity and mystery. He lavished gifts on his loved ones, provided protection and financial security, yet maintained a barrier that few could cross. Letters, gifts, and private messages were carefully calculated, revealing affection, but never the full extent of his empire. Even his closest relatives often had no idea of the full scale of his wealth. What made Capone's lifestyle truly extraordinary was the combination of danger and leisure. While running underground gambling operations, managing bootlegging networks, and bribing influential officials, he simultaneously enjoyed private parties, exclusive clubs, and luxurious retreats. The contrast was striking. In one moment, he was orchestrating complex criminal networks. In the next, he was relaxing with fine cigars, listening to classical music, or enjoying a rare vintage wine. This balance of risk and indulgence defined his life, creating a mystique that fascinated allies and terrified enemies alike. Capone also understood the power of secrecy. Every fortune, every property, every investment was meticulously hidden. Banks, legal entities, and underground contacts formed a network so intricate that even top law enforcement officers could only guess at the scale. This careful planning allowed him to maintain his empire despite public scrutiny and the constant threat of legal action. He knew that wealth without discretion was vulnerable, and Capone perfected the art of invisible luxury. Even his daily routines reflected this duality. Meetings were held in secret, decisions were made with precision, and every move was analyzed for risk and opportunity. Yet, in private, he indulged in passions and pleasures he could never display publicly: horse racing, exotic cars, lavish dinners, and rare collectibles. For Capone, life was both a chessboard and a playground, every decision calculated, every moment enjoyed, every secret carefully protected. And then there were the rare, intimate moments, glimpses into a softer, more human side of the man behind the legend. Moments with close friends, quiet reflections in his private study, or acts of generosity that never reached the newspapers. These glimpses revealed that beneath the public persona of a feared gangster was a man who understood loyalty, risk, and the fragile nature of trust. Ultimately, Al Capone's secret wealth and lifestyle were not just about money, they were about control, influence, and survival. Every dollar, every luxury, every hidden operation was part of a carefully constructed empire that ensured his dominance and security. While the world saw headlines of crime and notoriety, few could comprehend the depth, complexity, and opulence of his hidden life. The legend of Al Capone, therefore, is not only in his public notoriety but in the unseen empire he built behind closed doors, a life of wealth, danger, and secrets that remains unmatched in history. As the years passed, Al Capone's empire remained one of the most sophisticated and secretive in American history. Even when public attention faded and law enforcement grew more aggressive, the foundations of his hidden wealth and luxurious lifestyle endured. Every property, investment, and business had been carefully structured to survive beyond the reach of temporary threats. Capone's private indulgences continued unabated. Rare artifacts, exotic cars, luxurious cigars, and fine wines were not just symbols of wealth, they were carefully chosen tokens of a life few could imagine. Every room in his hidden estates, every secret vault, every private collection reflected a man who understood the art of living in abundance while remaining invisible. His family and closest associates were both beneficiaries and guardians of his secrets. Generosity flowed in unexpected ways. Private gifts, silent support, and secret arrangements ensured that those he cared for were protected and empowered. Yet, even they rarely saw the full picture. Capone's world was layered, luxury intertwined with caution, indulgence paired with strategy, affection mixed with secrecy. The final years of Capone's life were marked by reflection. He had built an empire unseen by most of the world, amassed a fortune hidden from public scrutiny, and created a lifestyle so lavish that only a few could comprehend it. And yet, he understood that wealth without control was fragile, power without discretion was dangerous, and luxury without secrecy could be perilous. Capone's story serves as a lesson in strategy, secrecy, and influence. He mastered the balance of fear and respect, indulgence and caution, power and privacy. While the headlines immortalized him as a notorious gangster, the hidden chapters of his life, his fortune, his luxury, and his careful orchestration of every element of his world, remain largely unknown. Even today, historians and enthusiasts continue to marvel at how a single man managed to maintain such an elaborate secret life. Al Capone's legacy is not only in the public chaos he created but in the private empire he maintained, an empire of wealth, luxury, and secrets that few could ever hope to uncover. The legend of Al Capone lives on, not only in his crimes but in the secret, untouchable world he built, a world where power, luxury, and discretion walked hand in hand.